Hi, in this video, I want to show off MIDI, which is the project my group did for HackMIT. And what it is a collaborative MIDI editor. So what do I mean by that? I guess the best way to explain it is Google Docs, and you can see that reflected in sort of the cursor I placed here. So everybody who has this web page and this document open can see my cursor, and it's reflected pretty much in real time. So let's say I'm working here, another person is working in California. We can all have this document open and edit MIDI files together. So if I place a note with control, you can see that the note is placed there. So I'm just going to quickly show you that it's actually being synced across devices. So the best way for me to do that, is to just open another window with the document open, and you can see that, for example, let me place a note here. It's pretty much instantaneously reflected on the other page. So let me go over some of the other features. I guess I'll just go over the main MIDI editing features. Everything you'd expect is present, so you can select areas and drag them. You can drag individual notes. You can size notes from both the front and the end. These notes actually snap to the grid, so you can see that happening. And actually, it snaps the grid dynamically. So if the page was like zoomed out more, it would snap to these grids. Um, and another feature would be what? Oh, if you click on the note, you delete. Right click on the note to delete it. You can also select a bunch of notes, press delete to delete it. Okay, now let's go over another feature we have here, which is basically GitHub Copilot for a MIDI editor. So what you can do is have a bunch of notes here. Oop, clicked on it to delete it, but there we go. So if I select it and I press Control Shift, I can have this pop up, and I will basically say something like, "Hey, I have this melody," or "Hey, I have this chord progression. Can you make me a melody corresponding to it?" And the AI will think, and it'll generate corresponding notes onto the editor. I can't show you this now just because it uses an API key that one of the sponsors gave out, but the event is over, so I don't think it works anymore. But basically what we're doing there is taking the selection and also some of the context and so forth, and we're throwing it with some like prompt engineering into basically a large language model, and the large language will like return us a couple of notes. We're processing that and then replacing it onto the MIDI editor. Now, because of time constraints, we're using an LLM. But the hope is that we can use actual like MIDI specific models, such as like Magenta or so forth. But it was just quickest to do prompt engineering for this one. Another idea we had is press, what is it? Control. These are called actions. So when you see my mouse hovering over this screen, you see this like green cursor, and that is like your active cursor. So when you press Alt Shift, you can select an action that basically modifies um, the MIDI notes around your active cursor. So, for example, this would be really good for like, hey, if I wanted to place like a major chord, I'd be able to like just hover my mouse over here, um, call the major chord function from here, and you'd be able to bind that into a keyboard shortcut as well. Um, and I say would be because we ran out of time to implement that. So I guess I ran out of time to implement that. So uh, yeah, it's currently there's only like a to console thing. So I guess now is the time to sort of point out what parts of this I did. So I did everything below the top bar and above sorry, below the top bar, yeah, and above the lower bar. So the entire MIDI thing I did. And what I did was all of this is custom draw calls using HTML canvas. So every single line here is meticulously drawn by me. Um, including like this time bar. So I spent quite a while trying to refine it to have the different grids show up at different zoom levels, um, and also having that correlate to the snapping and so forth. I also worked on state for all these notes. Initially, I built this as a local thing, so we didn't have sync yet, and so I just managed the so I managed the state for all like the notes and the notes being selected and so forth. And afterwards, I implemented sync as well. So I used convex to add sync to the system, and basically synced the local notes um, to the cloud so that everybody has the same version of. And one thing I'm really proud of the sync is that even though it's doing live sync, it feels really native. So I'm dragging the notes and there's like no delay in anything happening. Um, that's something I spent a lot of time working on trying to perfect. And sadly, I didn't push some of that code while it was being judged. So if I go here, this is the same version of the document. It's running on the same database as well. So you can see like notes I just placed have appeared here. This is what sort of like was shown during judging. If I like click on it, there's a bit of like lag because I forgot to update those changes just before judging. But oh well, you live and you learn. Next time, I need to leave like 10 minutes just to make sure everything's up there and in tip top shape. So yeah, I guess that's basically it. That's what I sort of did for project, and my teammates helped make the front bar and the bottom bar. So the top bar, they added like the auth with clerk, which I tapped into to get like your name for your cursor. Um, I don't think these work. Um, they added this shortcut mapper, which is pretty cool. Unfortunately, I ran out of time because I was working on the sync and so forth to actually implement the mappings here. So right now it's kind of useless. I don't think any of these buttons work as well, and they added these two drag bars, and they added these buttons which don't work. But finally they added oh wait, no, see, I'm not seeing everything because it's not full screen. They added import and export, which is kind of nice. So you can like export the entire document as a MIDI file, and place that into your DAW. You can also import a MIDI file. So for example, if I choose a file, um, resumes, ooh, let's just say this document, or this. Okay, yeah, I can import like another MIDI file in here to it. Uh, and what else? And finally, my teammates worked on the playback. They didn't really exactly figure out like real playback. So like I had this player head, but right now it's kind of useless because we don't have it playing back as reflected by the player head. But what they did make was one shot playback. So you can click this and play the entire document in one shot. The problem with that is you can't really pause it. So that's a thing to work out. Um, I did like I like finished doing a bunch of the sync stuff like 30 minutes before the deadline, and I was gonna look into the audio playback. But I ran out of time, so alas, that is the state of things. But yeah, this is the MIDI editor, and I think it's actually a pretty cool concept. Especially like having this be live synced, also having sort of like the AI controls here, and also the extendable controls through this control menu. I think are innovative ideas because I feel like a lot of MIDI editing or just like audio editing software right now is pretty stale just because there's the big couple of big like giant software companies and there's not a lot of space for innovation. So I feel like something like this would make it be sort of like a VS Code extendable version of an audio editor. So yeah, this is the MIDI collaborative MIDI editor. Thanks for watching.